Hey guys, and here I am changing the mic. Okay, you should be able to hear me properly. An unannounced Q&A because I decided to split what we're gonna do tomorrow at 11 a.m. London time, where I'm gonna be showing stuff from my laptop. I decided to take the part where I review some of the videos here for now. It's gonna be easier and more digestible for you to consume it. And also I'm aware that my laptop might just not be able to do everything I'm asking it to do, so I'm better off reviewing your videos, because what happens, I've tried last week, is that it gets very fragmented, and so it's not easy for you to see what I'm pointing at in my screen, despite the laptop not being so old. So yeah, I'd rather it being super clear. I'm gonna talk about general concepts more so than go back over all your videos, because I've been commenting on them directly, and I think you are all progressing properly, but there's a few elements that I start seeing here and there which I want to make clear, and then I will show you a few examples in the videos. The first, now we'll go over that again, is this is week 3, so this is integration week. This is where we're gonna start using the maps I've sent you to know exactly where you are heading. This is where I'm gonna suggest a bit more personally what I think you should do. Although you have all the material to progress, I want to reiterate the fact that it's important for you to train at least twice a week. And I understand that one, life sometimes gets in the way, and two, you may not record all the times you train. I'm aware that what you are uploading into your folders are not a reflection of how much you train. However, you have my eyes for 12 weeks. You want to use them to make sure that, as you've seen, right? Sometimes I just say, okay, all good, keep doing what you're doing. This is your next target. Sometimes I'm like, make sure that you correct this in your next session. It's important, otherwise you would just be slower for you to progress. So make sure that you upload your videos, even if you don't have any question. I go over them and I try to comment all the things I need to comment given what I see. If you have questions, you can also ask questions through the Google Photos. If you have trouble uploading on Google Photos, message me. Don't miss that opportunity, that mastermind. It's really important. You will make progress, but you have to use my expertise, and you have to train. Okay, so I'm not giving out. I'm making sure that the activity I see in the folders is not a reflection of either a technical problem on your side or you not training. You have to train twice a week, 3, 4, 5 if you can, twice a week. It doesn't have to be much, 20 minutes. But if you are not frequent in your training, you will not tame the wild horse. And this is what we're working on right now. So I hope that's clear. Some of you are itching to be balancing already. It's coming this week. But again, I've sent you the map. I invite you to have a look at it. We can negotiate a few parts of it, but technically, and I'm going to show you why tomorrow, if we cannot hold chest to the wall, bum over shoulders over hands for 30 seconds without moving, if we cannot land softly and consistently, bum to the wall and foot to the wall as we kick up, then it's too soon to freestand. It's too soon not to freestand, sorry, it's too soon to take off, it's too soon to flirt with balance. So of course we're going to talk about what the fingers are supposed to be doing. Of course we're going to talk about, I have so many more things to share with you, and that's the whole point of this mastermind, to keep shooting videos adapted to your needs on top of what you already have within the course. But I forgot my train of thoughts. Anyway, you got my point, yeah? To make sure that you are, well, we want to achieve these landmarks. That's what I was trying to say. We want to achieve these landmarks before we move on. Bailing is one of them as well. You saw the 3 main categories in my map. Until we have a solid bail, we won't be able to balance properly, because something is going to get in the way, and that something is fear. So make sure you bail. It doesn't have to be 10 hours, but bail 10 times every session. Bail 10 times every day, and you will get there. Frequency beats volume, even more so when you know what you're doing. And you should know what you're doing if you're following the sessions as I've been laying them out, and if you're asking for feedback. Okay. In saying that, okay, I'm going to show you a few things, and hopefully it's going to be insightful for everyone. I want to highlight one more thing. You have to treat yourself as, you have to do something that's below what you think you can do. You have to work on your basics. You do. You absolutely do. I do. Leave what you can do and what's fun for dessert. If you can balance, don't. That's what I'm trying to say. If you can float, don't. Unless you are asked to. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. There's two big families of exercises when it comes to handstands. Back to the wall and chest to the wall. And it's so tempting to do all of them whenever we find ourselves chest to the wall or back to the wall. So let's take an example. I'm chest to the wall, and I'm supposed to align myself. But I find myself taking off the wall. Well, why not? I should enjoy that. No, you shouldn't. I'm back to the wall, and I got all the way there. My bum reached the wall, and I find myself able to do scissors. Why not? I did do the exercise. Why shouldn't I do something else on top of it? Why shouldn't I kill two birds in one stone? Because it's taking away from your capacity to analyze what you just did. At the end of every rep, you should be able to assess what went right, what went wrong. One thing. And then apply it to either your next rep, your next set, or your next session. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun. But know what you're doing when you're doing it. I can spend a whole class back to the wall with one drill, which is going to have 5 different intentions. So that's going to be 5 different drills. They look the same to the untrained eye, but they only work for the person doing them if they are setting the intention properly, if they are respecting the rules of the drill, of the framework they set for themselves. Whew. Long rant. I hope you understand why it's important for your progress. Like I won't be able to give you the results you want, and you won't be able to get them if you are not strict with that structuring of our training. So I just want to show you a few things here. So remember, again, all of this I've said in the comments. So when you see your video, you won't be surprised. But I'm showing them for everyone to learn. We want the hands over the shoulders, because if the hands are wider than the shoulders, this is likely to happen here. The elbow bending. If you bend your elbow and then extend it again, you will lose balance whenever we remove that ball. It's just pure physics. So we want to stack the shoulders on top of each other, and mainly these hands, elbows, and shoulders. There should be one straight line. One thing I used to do myself was to bring the thumbs closer together than I thought was necessary. So it doesn't have to overlap, but if you bring them closer together, you are sure that you are shoulder width. When you only think shoulder width, what tends to happen is we go wider. This is also true for the kick-ups, guys. So if you have been receiving that comment, make sure that you bring your hands closer together. Even if it makes your kick-up harder, you need to work this way. Oh. So in terms of bailing, this is what many of you are at, so I'm gonna reiterate why. In terms of bailing, we want to be able to achieve a line that is as close as possible to what we can do when our intention is set on chest to the wall holds. You may have noticed that your line changes whenever you think about bailing, and when you compare that with what we can do chest to the wall. And the reason is, well, you are afraid, either consciously or subconsciously. We need to bridge that gap. That's a way for us to become more comfortable. Don't bring your attention on what's last, namely the bailing. Make sure that you're getting yourself set against the wall is a way for you to factor in a rep of chest to the wall hold. The difference in your line between chest to the wall holds and bailing should be minimal. That's your first intention, even before you start thinking about what your hands are supposed to be doing, which is what Colette has been working on, and there is definitely progress here. Then there is a second thing that happens. We are extending one leg out. And already this might be prompting you into changing the line because again, it's scarier. We want to make sure that our line, the way our pelvis is aligned over the shoulders, the way our shoulders are open, doesn't change or change at first as little as possible as we extend one leg out. Here, there's this very small, minute closing of the shoulders. Did you see that? Da-da-da-da-dam. Close. We are going to work on that. Once you are in that position, you need to stop. Stop for a few seconds, take note of what has happened, and then bail. And as we've seen, the progressions in bailing, you have received them, right? In your session number 3, are, well, at first you move the hand and you try to come back down, both feet together. Then you move one hand and you try to come down with one foot together, one foot after the other. And eventually, which is where most of you are, we absolutely need for this foot that stayed against the wall to lift from the wall. We do for a split second. It needs to take off before the hand moves. At first, maybe as the hand moves, I need to see that foot off the wall. Eventually, it does have to take off the wall. I will show you tomorrow. In terms of balancing, this is what to do. This is a good example. Colette lands against the wall and she stays there for as still as possible, a few seconds. Right now we're working on becoming more and more still and holding it longer and longer and paying attention to the way the weight is distributed in our hands. When you're able to hold that for 20 seconds without any parasite movement, you will be asked to push on your fingers and finally take off. But you need to get there, okay? That's the landmark here. I can land softly against the wall. My body is not dancing salsa once I'm against the wall. I can feel clearly my counterweight, which means that whatever is resting against the wall is resting lightly against the wall. It is time to push on the fingers. Until we are there, too soon. Again, I will not go over everyone, but I'm trying to remember what I've seen and what can help. Yes, this. So Gary has made huge progress in terms of alignment. That's absolutely obvious. See that line? That's good. Shoulders, palm over shoulders, shoulders over hands. This could be more open, but this can be held. However, one thing, both feet are against the wall. This is harder for all the reasons we mentioned before. These two things are overshot. Without the wall, this is going to be way harder to hold than a Y shape. So I would say you want to land already like this at the very least, if not in a bigger Y shape. As he transitions, this is a common thread here. As he transitions from one position to the other, the pelvis starts changing its position and so do the shoulders. This is what you need to bring your attention on. Whether you are chest to the wall, back to the wall, doing a straddle, doing a tuck, every time you change position, going from a Y to feet together, which is where we're going, you need to pay attention to these two things. Are my shoulders changing? And is my pelvis moving? If so, we need to start. This is our first priority, not changing so much their position, keeping them exactly where they are, because these are the two axes of handstands. A handstand is whatever you want to be doing with your legs, as long as you have your pelvis over the shoulders and the shoulders over your hands. So that's one first thing. And then, as I wrote to Gary, I hope this is dessert. This is exactly what I was saying in the introduction. This is not wrong. He's actually doing it quite right. But this is not what you should do if you're working on your kick-up. So I'm not sure what Gary is working on right now. But I'm assuming it's dessert. Because even though you're like, you can say, but Vincent, I have kicked up. I have ticked that box. Can I not make the most of my training time? My answer is no. Make these two different exercises because your attention span is more limited than we think. I need a perfect kick-up. I need you to bring all your mindfulness into your kick-ups. Okay? What else have I seen? Athena, you had... Is that it? Same bailing issue. Everyone, I hope you are eating your vegetables. I hope you are doing your tension drills. Of course, I don't need to see them, although you're more than welcome to film them. Some of you have. If you're not gonna progress. Tension is the key to a silent body. They're not nice to be doing. Sometimes we leave them last. Do them first, because they will prime your brain, as I've been writing in your modules, yeah? They will prime your brain in remembering what it feels like to be completely tense. You need to do them. Whenever you are chest to the wall, you want to replicate that kind of tension. And therefore, you want your heels together. Squeeze them together. What I say in workshops is, imagine that you have a $500 or euro note between your heels and you are suspended on a cliff with, like you are hanging yourself with your hands on a cliff trying to come back up. And there's wind. You don't want to lose these 500. So squeeze your heels together. Squeezing your heels together will take care of the tension all the way from the feet down to the hips, which is really where it matters first. And I think that all of you can use more tension, either in the way you extend your knees when you are in a Y shape, or in the way you squeeze your feet together when you are feet together against the wall. What I was saying to Henrique today is that if you find yourself training with a wall like this, so this has more value than you think. Well, I'm just saying this in case you can train in the park, or if you happen to find this, this is a great tool. This involves fear because we're afraid that we're gonna miss it if we kick up against it. So practicing against a narrow surface is actually quite good. It forces us, like there's no danger really, but it really feels more dangerous. What you can do to approach it is kicking up, bump to the wall first. If you kick up, bump to the wall, bump to that pillar, you won't miss it. If you kick up foot to the wall, you kind of feel that your foot is going to go arse ways, and therefore you will hurt yourself, which is fair. Kick up, bump to the wall, and then you will develop a confidence that eventually will allow you to kick up foot to the pillar, which eventually will really help us tame the horse. The level of risk involved here is minimal, because when you kick up against the wall, you don't do this with your foot. You actually go straight, but you don't think about it because the wall is that big. So that's a good training tool. It's not required, guys, but if you find yourself in front of it, do use it. Tom, we've been going back and forth quite a lot, so I know that you know what you are doing. Sharon, Dolores, I haven't received. Solen, Swati, Krista, many videos. So make sure that you are, I know that you may not have been filming them, make sure that you are training, water these seeds. Super important, guys. Oh yeah. So Very important. Sometimes I'm going to ask you to do something that you, okay, making sure that you can see everything. Can you see all these videos? Or maybe you couldn't so far. Fuck, I hope you did. Well, now you can. Maybe it was too zoomed out, too zoomed in before. Oh, I hope not. Sometimes I was going to ask you to, one of the examples being when I ask you to go back hands on the floor, when you're so used to kicking up, lunging into your kick up. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're a beginner again. When it feels like it, you have to treat whatever variation you're working on as if it was the first time. I've sent you progressions for chest to the wall, back to the wall, and I need you to take them from the beginning. So even if you are level 7, lunging into a kick up and suddenly you find yourself unable to touch the wall when you are hands on the floor already, you cannot assume that what you can do in one variation is going to be at the same level as what you can do for another variation. So that was our discussion with Venus. Hands already on the floor is very hard for her, but that's going to be very beneficial because it's going to force her to control better her momentum, feel better the weight transfer in her hands, and use the shoulders better. She has to treat that very differently from what she can do usually. Here, touching the wall is very hard because the shoulders are not doing anything and the legs are not giving any power, which goes to show how much she was relying on momentum to get up in the first place, which goes to show how important it is for us to do that. So our mission suddenly is not to land softly against the wall anymore, when she could freestand sometimes. Her mission is to touch that wall. Back to level 1. What does it take for us to touch the wall? What do we have to do with the pushing leg and the swinging leg and the shoulders, with the hands obviously way closer to the wall, to touch that wall? Anytime we're going to be asked to work on different variations, do make sure that you don't assume that the standards have stayed the same. Because if not, you have to treat them with the beginner mind. And then if you can go all the way up to the progression you were working on before with another variation, good for you, but don't assume it. What I would say as well for bailing, in terms of the 2 axes, guys, remember that the second axis doesn't exist if the first axis is not in place. What you can do with your pelvis doesn't matter to me as long as if your shoulders are not over the hands. So make sure that whenever you start changing the position of your pelvis, the shoulders are over the first knuckles. It's very important. First axis, shoulders over hands. Second axis, pelvis over shoulders. That's the bailing attempt. What I would ask everyone, and again, obviously there is change in the line as Ross extends the leg out. That's normal. We want to start limiting the difference, reducing the difference between what happens both feet on the wall and 1 foot on the wall. And then as we bail, I would invite you, so you know where you are, I would invite you to make sure that you always come back, you always stay up, yeah? As if we were thinking, like floor is lava. You cannot touch the floor with anything else but both feet and both hands. Just for the sake of embracing a sense of control, which itself is going to be important for our horse. Even if it means regressing, by the way. Work within what you can control. Even if you can do more not controlled. It's the same thing with the kick-ups, I've said to some of you. You can do, okay, cool, you can do this kick-up, hands far from the wall. Many of you actually have been asking, okay, I can bring my hands far further from the wall because I seem to be able to be there. I seem to be at level 7 or 8. And I'm like, no, because you're not consistent in your landing. No, because you're dropping into the wall. No, even if some reps are good, they're not consistently good. No, because your legs are not tense. I need 80% of them to be spot on. And when they are spot on, then we move our hands further from the ball, 2 inches further, not that much more. And we go back again, up to the point where we see a drop in our success rate, where we have to stop. It's not about getting as far as we can. It's about progressively getting further while keeping the stem standards. Guys, I have the feeling that this video, it was zoomed on the face of people and you didn't see their bodies. If so, I apologize, but what I say is still relevant. So everyone, make sure that when you're working back to the ball, you want to land 1 foot on the wall. Like, this is week 3. From this week on, unless you are unable to land 1 foot on the wall, unless bringing both feet on the wall is the only way you can get on the wall, back to the wall, I do not want to see any kick up both feet on the wall anymore. Just because the gap we're going to have to bridge next week, and whenever we're ready to take off, is going to be way wider if we make this our default kick up. Our default kick up is the Y. And if you're not sure why, I'm happy to explain. Good, however. Good. And you know what? Ross was very honest with me and told me about, it was sharing the frustration that came within this process. And I really appreciated that. And I want to share it with you all because I'm sure he's not alone. I'm sure he's not alone. Make sure you communicate this with me as well. Okay? If you find the program overwhelming, tell me. If you find an exercise very not clear, tell me. I have given up so many times on my journey myself because of all that. So I know what you're going through. Communicate, okay? Make sure that you are not in the red zone. It doesn't have to be about fear. If you're overwhelming yourself with frustration or negative thinking, you have to stay within the orange zone. This has to be enjoyable. Enjoyable but strict, okay? I had another idea that popped up, speaking of which, and I think it was a question asked by Swati, but I forgot. It will come back. So, that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. What I'm saying is, so I'm going to be shooting this live tomorrow. I'm going to be showing you a few more things when it comes to the Good Dog, Bad Dog, which is not yet in your program. I will be creating your session 4 tomorrow. I'll be showing you a few things on the cam, making sure that the bailing is really clear. And yeah, if you have any questions, again, any question, you can join me. You can comment on your Google Photos. If it doesn't work, you can chat with me directly through the app. I hope you are all good. Keep up the good work, and we will talk about what's next tomorrow, where I will really say, well, if you can achieve, and this is our map, if you can achieve that, then you are in the balancing box. If you can achieve this, then you are in the alignment box. If you can achieve that, then you are in the kick-up box, because we have set really a good foundations together. Alignment, tension, kicking up, bailing. That's awesome in already just 2 weeks. Now this week we're going to start branching out because we have to work on different priorities. Carts doesn't come before the horse. So I'm going to trust you here. This is a mastermind, yeah? I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust that you work in the box I say you should work in. You don't have to trust me, but I invite you to if you want to make progress. See you tomorrow.